Hi there, this is Jacob Nash Algebra Lessons, and this is a new unit, Unit 6, and this is Lesson 1. Now, if you watched Unit 5 videos, they were actually out of order. I mean, not out of order, but I accidentally said the wrong thing. They were I said that Lesson 13 was Lesson 12, and Lesson 14 was Lesson 13, but anyways, this is a new unit, so we had rational functions, now we have radical. So don't get mixed up. Rational meaning it's kind of like, let me go back on this. Kind of like a fraction. Let me see, how do I draw one? Okay, so it would be like a fraction, like x over whatever. But radical is something like this. That's what we'll be looking at. Okay, so, well, you can already see that I have 4 lessons already planned, but this is the first one, and we're going to identify the square root function. So we already have talked about that, but let's make that a review. So what is the parent function? Remember, parent function is just like the default thing before you go through transformations, which we'll look at in Lesson 3. But it's just simply y equals the square root of x. That's all it is. And we've looked at the values before and what points there could be, but we'll do that again. So what points are there? So because it's a square root function, well, basically how it works is whatever x value you have, you take the square root of to get the y value. So let's start out with 0. You take the square root of 0, you just get 0. If you have 1 for the x, you take the square root of 1, you still get 1. If you have 2 for the x, you could take the square root of 2, but I don't need to do that right now. So let's just keep it on perfect square. So 4, that would be 2. 9, that would be 3. And then 16, that would be 4. So those are what the points are like on the default square root function. It only stays in the quadrant where both the x and y are positive, unless you had a reflection, which we'll talk about in transformations. So let's plot these points so we can see what this would look like. So 0, 0 is right here. Notice that if you had a square root of -1, remember that would be imaginary, so it would be imaginary for x to be negative. That's what it is. So then you have 1, 1, you have 4, 2, you have 9, 3, and you have 14, or 16, 4, but can't do that because this doesn't go that far. So let's connect them, and that's what it looks like. And so basically it will just be in this quadrant and it will look like that. That's what that looks like. So maybe that's a refresher from a different unit, but that's all for this video. That's just an important thing to know before you get started.